if you filed a trademark and you received what's called a response, which is also an office action, if you received an office action, you clicked on this video because you have questions, you might not know what you're looking at. So let me just walk you through it. I have been a trademark attorney coming up on 10 years now. And when I filed some of my first trademarks, one of them, and actually this was a few years later, but one of the earlier ones that I did in the music realm was actually for myself. And as an artist, I go by Miss Crystal. And I had an issue because I filed the trademark, and this was for Miss Crystal in the realm of entertainment services, in that I do live performances, which is class 41. So regardless of what you filed for, as far as your trademark, what class you're in, what I'm going to go through here is going to help you in kind of understanding what you should do next with the office action. So let me show you what I had received. All right, so I got this back, and just for context, this is a 41-page document. So I get this, easy breezy light thing from the USPTO. And even as a trademark, attorney, but especially for someone who is not familiar with what these look like, this can be very overwhelming. And so that's why I want to go through it. So this was many a years ago. All right. And so at the time, these office actions, they would give you 6 months to respond. Now it is 3 months. They want everyone just to hurry the F up. So just so you know, you need to make sure to actually calendar when your response is due. And then, like, for me, I would say calendar it 2 times. And so have like a soft deadline, which is a month before you have to respond, and then a hard deadline, which should still be like 2 weeks before you need to respond. Please don't miss deadlines, okay? Because you can have your trademark marked as abandoned, and then all your effort, blood, sweat, and tears is gone. So in this case, this was a final action. So what happens is that when you file your trademark application, if the examiner, meaning the person who's looking at your trademark application, looks at your application, is like, Jane, made an issue here. And so they put together this office action, and they say, hey, Jane, here are the issues that you made on your application. And they might say, we're rejecting it. But what you can do is that you give a response and you go, this is why I think you're wrong. And so sometimes there are little things, technical things that you can fix, and you can do this on your own. Sometimes, though, it will be a little bit more complicated, like what this one was. So this is a very common reason for rejection. So they go, the Miss Crystal trademark application is rejected because of a likelihood of confusion. This is pursuant to the Trademark Act, Section 2D. And what this basically means is that they go, hey, Miss Crystal, we did a search and we found someone who has a similar or exact same name as you. And it's for something that is similar to what you're doing. So therefore, you're rejected. We're not going to allow you to register. And the reason why this one's final is because I filed a response, which I'm going to show you guys. I didn't think I'd be showing you this, but I'm going to show you. And so when it's final, it just means that they go, we told you what the problem was. You tried to respond, and we are affirming our rejection of you. So it becomes final. Because otherwise, you typically have 3 strikes and you're out to respond. So anyway, let's jump into this. So here was the reason. They go, Miss Crystal in class 41 relating to, and actually, you know what? Strike that. This was for, I did a different trademark. This one was for music, which is class 9. Anyway, same difference. So Miss Crystal, and I got rejected because there was Crystal, Crystal, but it was Crystal Records. They said Miss Crystal with K, Miss Crystal is the same or substantially super duper close to Crystal Records with Crystal. So look, I don't know about you guys. I'd love your feedback. Leave me a comment. Do you feel like those are substantially the same? Miss Crystal, Crystal Records. In my opinion, they are nothing the same. They don't sound the same. They don't read the same. What the F was basically my response. So what you don't want to do is that when you get arguments that you don't agree with in the office action, you want to always be respectful, because the examiner's name and phone number and email is provided to you. You can talk to them, but they're trying not to ruin your life typically. You know what I'm saying? Although it feels like that, but just, be respectful, because it gets worse for you if you're going to make a problem for it. Just try to be factual. So this is what we're going to do. We go in and I write a response to office action. Now, I filed this under my law firm. And so what I did, and let me just show you how I had structured this. So I go through and there's arguments. And so you give arguments with legal citations, and you go, here are the elements of what we're looking at. And then I went through and I broke it down. I go, they don't sound or appear or have the same impression. Miss Crystal and Crystal Records are spelled differently. They're totally different words. And then we kind of go through and I even give examples. I'm like, a record label that distributes other people's music is not the same as Miss Crystal, who is a public figure. And so you have to kind of argue on behalf of yourself, give images, give examples. And, one of the more strong arguments that I think I gave was just to say, for example, a record label distributes music. You can't search a record label on Spotify. You can search Miss Crystal on Spotify. And so I go, the likelihood that anyone would get confused is just like not there. So here's a tip. Regardless of what you do, something that's really helpful is looking at definitions of words, but also doing Google searches. So for example, what I did is I go, if you search Miss Crystal, there's a whole lot of Miss Crystal that comes up for pages and pages and pages and pages. Nowhere is there Crystal records. So you can do things like that just to try to show the examiner why there's no likelihood of confusion, why these things are different. Long story short, I was able to eventually overcome this. I did get my registration. We've been living well for the last 6 or 7 years, and you can too. So regardless of what the issues are, sometimes they're more heady and complicated. You do want to seek an entertainment attorney. I do this every day, and so you can reach out if you need help through Delgado Entertainment Law. But sometimes there are things that you can do on your own to address these issues if they're just small and technical and they're like, hey, you didn't, sign correctly, or you didn't provide the correct address, stuff like that you can take care of. But these are really important. You want to make sure that they're done right. So if you need to get help and you need someone to argue on your behalf, please make sure you do that.